The Battle of Montgisard was fought between the Ayyubids and the Kingdom of Jerusalem on November 25, 1177. The 16-year-old King Baldwin IV, seriously afflicted by leprosy, led an outnumbered Christian force against the army of Saladin. The Arab force was routed and their casualties were massive, and only a fraction managed to flee to safety. Background: in 1177, King Baldwin IV and Philip of Alsace, who had recently arrived on pilgrimage, planned an alliance with the Byzantine Empire for a naval attack on Egypt, but none of these plans came to fruition. Meanwhile, Saladin planned his own invasion of the Kingdom of Jerusalem from Egypt. Learning of Saladin's plans, Baldwin IV left Jerusalem with, according to William of Tyre, only 375 knights to attempt a defense at Ascalon. But Baldwin was stalled there by a detachment of troops sent by Saladin, who, again according to William of Tyre, had 26,000 men. The true numbers are impossible to estimate, since the Christian sources refer only to knights and give no account of the number of infantry and Turcopoles, except that it is evident from the number of the dead and wounded that there must have been more men than the 375 knights. It is also uncertain whether the so-called knights included mounted sergeants or squires, or whether they were true knights. Just as uncertain are the numbers of their opponents. An 1181 review listed Saladin's Mamluk forces at 6,976 ghulams and 1,553 naragulams. However, there would have been additional soldiers available in Syria and elsewhere, while auxiliaries might have accompanied the Mamluks. Whether these would have added up to a total of 26,000 reported by William of Tyre is impossible to say. Saladin left part of his army to besiege Gaza in a smaller force at Ascalon and marched northward with the rest. Accompanying Baldwin was Raynald of Châtillon, Lord of Aultre-Jourdain, who had just been released from captivity in Aleppo in 1176. Raynald was a fierce enemy of Saladin and was King Baldwin's second-in-command. Also with the army were Baldwin of Ibelin, his brother Balian, Reginald of Sidon, and Jocelyn III of Edessa. Odo de Saint-Amand, master of the Knights Templar, came with 84 Templar knights. Another Templar force attempted to meet Baldwin at Ascalon, but they remained besieged at Gaza. The battle. Saladin continued his march towards Jerusalem, thinking that Baldwin would not dare to follow him with so few men. He attacked Ramla, Lydda and Arsuf, but because Baldwin was supposedly not a danger, he allowed his army to be spread out over a large area, pillaging and foraging. However, unknown to Saladin, the forces he had left to subdue the king had been insufficient, and now both Baldwin and the Templars were marching to intercept him before he reached Jerusalem. The Christians, led by the king, pursued the Muslims along the coast, finally catching their enemies at Montgisard, near Ramla. The location is disputed, as Ramla was a large region that included the town under the same name. Malcolm Barber equates Montgisard with the mound of Al-Safiya. Saladin's chronicler Imad ad-Din al-Isfahani refers to the battle taking place by the mound of Al-Safiya, potentially modern Tel es-Safi, near the village of Meniam, not far from Ashkelon, and within the contemporary Ramla province. Al-Safiya means whiten. Indeed, the Es-Safi hill is white with the foundations of a Crusader castle recently found at the top, called Blanchigada. Ibn al-Atiyah, one of the Arab chroniclers, mentions that Saladin intended to lay siege to a Crusader castle in the area, but Saladin's baggage train had been apparently mired. There is a small stream north of Tel es-Safi bordering farmland that in November might have been ploughed up and muddy enough to hinder the passage of the baggage train. The Egyptian chroniclers agree that the baggage had been delayed at a river crossing. Saladin was taken totally by surprise. His army was in disarray. Part had been held up by the mired baggage train, while another part of his force had scattered into raiding parties across the countryside. The horses were tired from the long march. Some men had to hurry to collect their weapons from the baggage train. Saladin's army, in a state of panic, scrambled to make battle lines against the enemy. King Baldwin ordered the relic of the True Cross to be raised in front of the troops. The king, whose teenage body was already ravaged by aggressive leprosy, was helped from his horse and dropped to his knees before the cross. He prayed to God for victory and rose to his feet to cheers from his army. The Jerusalem army attacked the hurriedly arranged Muslims, inflicting heavy casualties. The king, fighting with bandaged hands to cover his terrible wounds and sores, was in the thick of the fighting. Egyptian effective command was under Saladin's nephew Taqi ad-Din. Taqi ad-Din apparently attacked while Saladin was putting his Mamluk guard together. Taqi's son Ahmad died in the early fighting. Saladin's men were quickly overwhelmed. Saladin himself only avoided capture by escaping, as Ralph de Dysart claims, on a racing camel. By nightfall, those Egyptians that were with the Sultan had reached Cornita Mesjun Alorim near the mound of Tel el-Hezar. This is about 25 miles from Ramla. It is only about 7 kilometers from Tel es-Safi. King Baldwin's victory was total. He had utterly destroyed the invasion force and had captured Saladin's baggage train. Baldwin pursued Saladin until nightfall, and then retired to Ascalon, deluged by 10 days of heavy rains and suffering the loss of roughly 90% of his army, including his personal bodyguard of Mamluks. Saladin fled back to Egypt, harassed by Bedouins along the way. Only 1/10 of his army made it back to Egypt with him. Aftermath. Baldwin memorialized his victory by erecting a Benedictine monastery on the battlefield, dedicated to Saint Catherine of Alexandria, whose feast day fell on the day of the battle. However, it was a difficult victory. Roger Desmoulins, master of the Knights Hospitaller, reported that 1,100 men had been killed and 750 returned home wounded. Saladin, fearing the tenuousness of both his hold on Egypt and the alliance with his Syrian vassals, spread propaganda that the Christians had in fact lost the battle. Meanwhile, Raymond III of Tripoli and Bohemond III of Antioch joined with Philip of Alsace in a separate expedition against Haram in Syria. The siege of Haram lasted into 1178, and Saladin's defeat at Montgisard prevented him from relieving his Syrian vassals. Despite an intervening year of relative peace, by 1179 Saladin was able to renew his attacks on the kingdom, including his victory at the Battle of Montgisard that year. This led to almost another decade of warfare, which culminated in Saladin's victory over the Crusaders at the Battle of Hattin in 1187. After his withdrawal, Saladin reorganized his armies in Egypt with the assistance of his brother Turan Shah and received the ambassador of the powerful Kilij Arslan. For succession of related campaigns see also 1179 Battle of Montgisard, 1179 Battle of Jacob's Ford, 1182 Battle of Beaver Castle, 1183 Battle of Al-Fulla, 1187 Battle of Cresson, 1187 Battle of Hattin. Fiction. The Battle of Montgisard is alluded to in the 2005 movie Kingdom of Heaven, as a battle where King Baldwin IV defeated Saladin when he was 16. It was also described in Jerusalem book written by Cecilia Holland. An account of the battle is also given in Swedish author Jan Guillau's novel Temple Riddarn, in which the protagonist, Arne Magnusson, is portrayed as a high-ranking member of the Knights Templar, commanding a contingent of the army at the Battle of Montgisard. The battle is shown in the movie Arne, the Knight Templar, which was based on Guillau's book. Bibliography. Lane Poole, Stanley. Saladin and the Fall of the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Heroes of the Nations. London. G.P. Putnam's Sons. Lyons. C. Jackson, D.P. Saladin. The Politics of the Holy War. Cambridge University Press. ISBN 978-0-521-31739-9.